Based on the book Club You to Death, written by Anuja Chauhan, Murder Mubarak is a murder mystery in which a man has been murdered at a very prestigious club. This man has been blackmailing members of the club for a lot of money and was probably killed for it. The film gradually reveals dark secrets behind everyone who's involved and tries to figure out who the killer is. Investigating this murder is Pankaj Tripathi and his assistant Padam Kumar. The suspects are many: Sara Ali Khan, Vijay Varma, Karishma Kapoor, Dimple Kapadia, Tiska Chopra, Sanjay Kapoor, Tiska Chopra's son, a staff member called Ganga, and these are a lot of suspects. I'm not entirely sure if so many suspects were needed or if the film would have been much better if we had fewer suspects. Either way, I like this film. I really like this film. And I like murder mysteries in general. Ones that follow the template of a murder has been committed, here are the suspects, here's the investigator, now try and figure out who the murderer is. Murder Mubarak is one of those films, the films that follow this template. The film starts off as a commentary on November rains, political elections, British Raj idolization, and left political leanings. And all this never really goes anywhere. But what it also does is it satirizes the elite class. Women talking about how November rain affects farmers almost as an afterthought. The help that isn't allowed beyond a certain point in the club. Rude women who use bells to call the staff. The film is filled with several such instances. And unlike the other themes it explores very briefly, it sticks with this exploration of class divide throughout the film. But once it sets up the characters and kicks off into the story, the satirizing reduces and the murder takes center stage, which is how things should be. Well, sort of. You see, we also have two of the characters sharing a romance, Sara Ali Khan and Vijay Varma, and this also takes center stage throughout the film. I found my attention drop for a lot of these moments when the two were spending time together. And the film tries to balance this, the murder mystery and the relationship between the two lovers, but it's not entirely successful. There were several instances where I actually felt that these were two separate stories. This is probably why the film is longer than it has any right to be, roughly at 2 hours and 10 minutes. And this is maybe why people have found the film to be boring. I can see that. But for me, the film was rather entertaining. I was invested in the crime. I was invested in finding out who the killer was. And that brings us to Sara Ali Khan. I don't exactly know what she works as other than making tea for the detectives and exercising in the gym, but she plays the part well. She's sufficiently honest when it comes to solving the crime. She seems invested in the relationship she shares with Vijay Varma, and she seems like an overall decent actress. The bits where she seemed angry with her husband though, where she was fighting with him, asking him to stay in the marriage, that seemed like a bit of a stretch, acting-wise. Vijay Varma, as always, is fantastic as a lawyer who tries to fix problems. He's a man whose heart is too big to fit in his little body, and he plays the part of a detective well, trying to put together clues and find out who murdered Leo Matthews. Sanjay Kapoor plays the same character he's played in so many films before, but he plays it with such finesse. He's this loud, angry, rich man who's always looking down at those below his station. He's also the man handling something at the club. I'm not entirely sure. The club president. Tiska Chopra is great as the woman who's completely out of touch with reality, but loves her son more than anything else in the world. Tiska Chopra's son plays the drug addict who needs his fix, but also has some other devious vices. Karishma Kapoor is the actress who can't seem to get any genuine lines of her own because a lot of her lines are borrowed from her films. She plays a diva who wants to run the club instead of Sanjay Gupta and will give him a good fight. Dimple Kapadia plays this air-headed rich lady who makes sculptures of people that look nothing like the people they're modeled after. But the star of the film most certainly is Pankaj Tripathi. I don't know what it is about Pankaj Tripathi, but there's never a show or a film I've not liked him in. Even if the film is really bad, Pankaj Tripathi manages to shine. Here he plays a rather soft-spoken cop who's always smiling and is never in his uniform until the parlor room scene. A parlor room scene is usually one in which the detective finally reveals who the killer is. It's a common staple of a lot of detective film. You know what? Never mind. Pankaj Tripathi is top-notch in his performance, as always. Look, most of these people get very little screen time, but they're all memorable in whatever role they're playing. And now, when I sit down and think about it, I don't really think any of these characters spoiled the movie for me. I think I was quite entertained with the whole ensemble of however many characters there were. But one thing I found really off putting is that no one was really affected by the murder. Almost all of them were living their lives as if nothing ever happened. And this was pointed out by Pankaj Tripathi as well, somewhere in the film. And I suppose that's how the rich react to little things like murder. But one of them was a murderer, and none of them knew who or why the man was murdered. I'd imagine them to be at least a little afraid for their own lives. I watched a lot of detective films and shows, and I've always had a lot of trouble figuring out who the killer is. In detective films and detective books, it's apparently a common exercise to guess the killer long before it's actually revealed. Right in the middle of the film, people work out who the killer is. And I really don't have time to think that far ahead when I'm watching a film. But whatever. Other people did it, I didn't. I had an inkling, sure, but it was just an inkling. It wasn't based on any real clues as such. It was just a feeling. Look, overall, I had a great time with Murder Mubarak. I'm glad the Hindi film industry is making murder mysteries, and I hope they keep making them. That's all I have for this episode. Like the video, share it, subscribe to the Gutter Space channel, and I will see you next time.